Good evening and welcome to the Bombay Project's Hope Building Workshop. And my name is Suli Mngadi, and I'm one of the Bombay Project's interns. All right, so when you hear the word hope, I wonder how you respond. Our country is messy at the moment. In fact, our world is messy. We can find that hurt starts replacing hope. Indifference starts replacing passion. It's not a very good place to be. Tonight, I want to invite you to close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the room is pitch black, and then a candle is lit. Its flame radiates, pushing back the darkness. You can now open your eyes. Desmond Tutu once said, "Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness." We believe that hope shines brightest when surrounded by uncertainty, darkness, and mess. Tonight, we invite you to join us on a journey to see that hope and look at how we can be part of building that hope that builds the future. Real, tangible, messy hope. We have a whole team tonight, but I will begin by handing over to Mendy. Please give her a round of applause.
Evening, everyone. Thank you, Tuli. Why don't you turn to the person next to you and say, greet them in a different language, not your own. I wonder how many different languages we have. Oh, there was konnichiwa over there and a few others. But as I look out tonight, I just see this wonderful array of different people. And everyone comes from different perspectives. And I think that's an incredible thing. And we want to honor you and where you're at the moment. And so in front of you, just as we start, to allow you a chance to reflect, are two little questions. Under your bottoms, okay. Under your bottoms, please. How do you feel about the materially poor people at the moment in South Africa, and about giving and helping? And then if I gave you 10 million rand, I don't know from where, but yeah, if I gave you 10 million rand to spend on giving to those in need, what would you do with it? Okay, so just, you've got pens, just jot down your answers. Okay, it's just for you. Nobody's going to ask you anything about it. So I'm sure when some of you looked at that first question, that there was that feeling of being overwhelmed, because we all know that the need in our country at the moment is really, really hectic. More than half of our country now are below the poverty line, more than 30 million people, which is absolutely incredible. There are over 3 million orphans in our country, and we have the worst income inequality in the world. And we know these situations, we know these stats because we see them every day. When we go to the shops, we encounter people in need, and it can be really overwhelming. And I think many generous givers have given up. I think the July riots have resulted in many closing that book of hope. So tonight, it's not about making anyone feel guilty. It's not about creating this to-do list that you have to do to be a good South African. But for us, we want to open that book of hope again. For us, it's about implanting that spark. And we just really pray that it would be that for you tonight, that you would go away with a sense of hope for our country, and that we can make a difference. But I want to start tonight by celebrating the hope bearers, and I'm looking at a hang of a lot of them as I look around this room. And there's some who have been with the Bombay Project for 15 years. So I was going to put photos up, but you probably wouldn't recognize them, myself included, older and grayer and wiser, we hope. And there's so many here who've journeyed with children. Some are now young adults. They've got grey hairs, some of them as a result of that. Some of them are grandparents, well, figuratively, through their children. And there's some who, through their time, talents, and treasure, behind the scenes, have just had such an incredible impact on building hope. Staff who you'll hear tonight, that's from generous giving, that their work is enabled, and that's just amazing. But it's also, there's so many others, as I look out, that are hope bearers in so many other ways. that are, whether in their environments, individuals around them, different individuals outside of Bombay. I look at Tanya with the Angel Network. I know that there are many others. Trish and Sharon are here tonight in terms of Bulwer. And there are a number of other individuals here who are passionate. Gugu, where's Gugu? I think Gugu's, my contact lenses weren't working, so if I look vague, it's like, okay, I see that hand. Gugu is amazing. She runs the Gale course. You'll hear more about her later. But there's so many, and I just, I'm just mindful of that. And I want to say thank you to everyone, but also to those who sit here and think, well, I'm not really a bearer of hope. And I want to say that you're here, and I want to thank you for that, because that speaks volumes. And you may have more questions than answers, but it's about the journey. So really wanting to thank everyone and celebrate that. But I also want to celebrate those that aren't here. And I think that's really good to do, because it's those that we don't really see, but there's so much happening that you don't realize. I'll give a few examples, but I could carry on all night. So Mama Figile, she was really abused. She had no one to turn to when she was young. And so now all of these people of the goodness of their heart, don't get paid a cent for it. She's like the counselor to the whole of Bombay. She has kids. That's her passion, because she didn't have that herself. And so now she just welcomes people into her home. She has people living in her home. And there are many others like her. Baba Nshingile, he's got this passion for families. And so he is doing marriage courses, parenting courses. He teaches, you'll hear about later, our young men about honoring women, about helping in the home. They had to learn how to wash dishes, because it's a new experience for, well, maybe other men too, but in Bombay it's a new experience. But just that passion. And there's someone else, an anonymous person, who it was the burden for one of the guardians, and who's now taken on 3 children, and it's really hard for her. And they had this small piece of land, family land. They went to their family, it had a jondolo on it, and said, please, can we give it to this person? And they were offered money for it, and said, no, I want to give it to this person, no cost, and generously gave it to that person. And I could carry on, but I think it's stories like that we need to hear, just in terms of hope. And tonight, we're going to be looking at the hope building model, and we're going to be journeying with that. And part of that journey will be through 5 bearers of hope and their stories tonight. They just happen to be our staff, amazing staff sitting over there. And it's a really exciting journey. And we're going to be using examples from Bombay, just because that is where this hope building model with action is. That's where we kind of put it into practice. But I pray that it's a lot more for each of you. I pray that how you when you go to the shops, when you encounter someone in need, whatever it may be, that this may give you just a different flavor in terms of how you approach that. Maybe you'll be able to have a different impact as a result. And so it covers all those variety. If you're here with nothing to do with the Bombay Project, it's still, we pray that it'll speak into your situation where you are. So before we go through the hope building model, I just want to give a brief overview of the Bombay Project. So some of you know quite a bit about it, some of you it's new, and I think it's good for everyone, because often one doesn't know all the various things that are going on. So it'll just be a quick overview, and see with the first slide. So really, what is our vision as the Bombay Project? And it's really, I'm going to start with what we do, how we do it as a hope building model, which I'll get onto. But our dream is for Bombay to be this beacon of hope in South Africa. And it's one of the most disadvantaged, shunned communities in the whole of South Africa. And so this vision of hope, of being a beacon of hope, is so real to us. And we've got this even bigger dream for the powerless, as the world would view it, the powerless in Bombay, to impact the powerful with hope. Our starting point in this journey is the transformation of orphans and vulnerable children. And we've got this community-based orphan support model. So it's really different from orphanages. They live with their guardians in the home. And so we want to bring transformation through that. And we just see huge potential to roll out this to the 3 million orphans in South Africa, to actually ensure there is care and support for the orphans. And at the moment, there's some of our kids. We've got 81 children on our very intensive program, and we've got another 75 children who are part of our broader programs. And we don't use the title orphans. So we we have a special name, which is Special Stars for every orphan and vulnerable children, and every orphan vulnerable child. And I'm going to invite Tuli now to chat to us because she's really passionate about impacting these children, and she's going to share with us why that is.
So as it was said that my name is Tuli, and I just want to ask, what could come out from a dark place that's filled with crime, drugs, people killing each other brutally, and no one really caring? Well, I want you to hold your answer. I come from that place, which is not that different compared to back then. I am a flower that bloomed in the desert. I am a flower from Bombay. Well, I cannot say that I had everything that I wanted while growing up, but I can surely say that I had everything that I wanted, especially a family filled with love, food, clothes, and education. I can now say that when love is there, everything else turns blurry, be it poverty, lack, or lack of money. And I remember this one time while doing grade 8 in school, and my school shoe had a hole on the sole. Now, my friends used to laugh at me whenever I sat with my feet up. Funny thing is that I laughed with them as well, because for me, it was never about lack, but it was about my family's love in the little things that they afforded. Now, I'm so grateful to be or have the incredible opportunity of being a part of the Bombay project, because they are giving children an opportunity to be rooted in love in a way that they wouldn't otherwise have had. And I'm also grateful to have daily opportunities to help these children be rooted in hope and help more flowers blossom in Bombay.
Thanks, Julie. So she gave the image of flowers. We actually have the image of a tree, and it's the roots, trunk, and fruit. So for us, it's the roots, identity, and belonging. For us, this is so crucial because I don't know if you've ever had the situation where you've invested in someone's life who's materially poor and had difficult circumstances, and it just seems like the opportunity's been thrown away, and you can't understand it because often those roots are so weak. And so we have that with our special stars because usually they've been passed, not only have they lost their parents, but often they get passed from guardian to guardian, and it really impacts them. So usually the normal route for a lot of these orphans is that they end up in crime, drugs, teenage pregnancy, drop out of school. And so for us, we focus on the roots as a starting point is really important. So you can see some pictures there. We have our groups every afternoon where there's kind of these circles of belonging. We visit them in their homes, check they're safe, check in terms of where there's abuse happening, all that, and one-on-one mentorship and counseling and play therapy. So that's really important. Then we have the Educating for Life. So it's not just about education. We've got maths, we've got literacy programs, we've got maths club every week, we've got online learning and all those. But for us, the actual Educating for Life, the life skills is even more important. So learning not to tell a lie, not to steal, those type of things. Some haven't learned that ever in their lives. So we really invest, and we've got a young men's group, a young women's group that's also really important in that process. And then the last one is making a contribution, and we feel this is vital, that it's not just that when they get older, they must make a contribution from the youngest one. And our theme this year is Be the Change. So we have even our little ones leading. It's really sweet to see them. They're leading dance, all the bigger ones. And they just feel like they've got purpose and meaning. And it makes such a difference when they are making a contribution. So there's Gutle, and she was leading the church hall, what we call the church hall. It was full of people, and she was leading them in song. So that's really, really important to us. But we find that it's not just when they're in school. So at first, we were focused on that, and we realized actually when they leave school, the challenges increase. And so we do a lot of the same types of programs, but we also have a whole lot of job linkages, job training, some practical skills, small business training that came up COVID. Now we do a combination. We had our RISE business skills. Last year we had carpentry and plumbing and light electrical. Some of you who are in that industry might shake your heads of thinking if they learned it in a few days and were doing each other's houses, it might be quite scary, but they did okay. But it was an excellent experience, and they gained so much through it. Plus we had life skills and dealing with past traumas as part of that. And even simple things like training them when you get your salary, they hadn't thought of this, that you actually must save enough for transport for the month. So simple things like that we take for granted, part of that process. And then our guardians as well. So they often, just imagine, one of the first guardians I met, he was 25 years old. He had 7 orphans that he was looking after, and he was unemployed, male by himself. I don't know how you would feel. Overwhelming. It's not surprising that there's a lot of abuse of God in those situations. So for us, the support of them is so crucial. So we journey with them. SMA is incredible with all the various support groups and training that we have with them. And then we have sewing opportunities to earn income. And then food parcels, we do food vouchers we give, and they work in the gardens. We've got beautiful vegetable gardens, and they work in that to the dignity of earning them as such. So that's really, us as the Bombay Project, what we do. And a lot of that happens because of our amazing staff who live in Bombay and really journey as role models with the kids. So that's so, so crucial. Yeah, and actually many of you who are journeying with them as well. And we see amazing transformed lives. Yes, there's a lot of hardship, and there's some struggles along the way, but we celebrate, a lot of change that we are seeing. And that's just a joy. So that's what we do. But really, tonight is about the how. And from when we started Bombay Project, we saw a lot of giving that was handout giving that caused damage in South Africa. Lack of dignity, increased dependence, the apathy, and we're like, how can we do this differently? Really wanting not just to have good intentions and smiles on faces, but how can we actually do that thinking? And it's not easy. And it's not been an easy journey, and it's been a learning. After 10 years, we developed the hope building model. We keep changing it. Actually, 2 weeks ago, we've had a bit of a tweak in it since then, because it's this journey, and it's good. Sometimes it gives you more questions than answers, but yeah, we found it a really, really good journey. So we want to take you through the hope building model, and HOPE, nice and straightforward. Honor, it's about honoring others instead of pity. Outcomes, potential, and empower. So the first one is honor. And I want to just ask you a question. What is poverty? And you just shout out answers. What is poverty? No money, lack. Hunger. Below the breadline. Okay. Use your 2 hands to show a picture of a wealthy person giving to a poor person. Just your 2 hands. How would you just depict it if you had to depict it to someone else? Let's see. Okay. It's like this. Interesting. How's this for a definition of poverty? Poverty is the world telling the poor that they are God-forsaken. A wealthy person will often say that poverty is about lack. And a materially poor person will say the same, but they will also talk about inferiority, about feeling worthless, less than. There are a few items on your table. Which do you think might depict? Just have a look at them and see which might depict honor. I'll tell you just now which it is. We're going to watch a video that's just going to challenge that. A lot of you might have seen it, but hopefully it'll just rejig it in your mind.
Okay, sir.
Morning, how's it going, man?
All right, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Can I get 40 hours of petrol?
40 hours, good.
Excuse me, man.
Hi.
Where can I find 5 kilometers of rice?
5 kilometers.
Cheers, Sam.
Cheers, Nat. I'll see you in 5 liters.
5 liters?
Those measurements don't really make sense. But does how we measure people make sense? We measure people by the size of their bank accounts, by their clothing, their cars, their jobs. Worth is measured by what people own. Nelson Mandela saw a different measure of worth. It wasn't about what people had on the outside. He saw the inside. He saw equal worth in every human being. He gave worth. As the Bombay Project, our dream is not just for every orphan and vulnerable child to know their worth, but for every South African to see the true worth in each other. And as we do, we discover the worth in ourselves.
Why not change your vision?
Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu.
Let's see the worth in every person.
Imagine if the whole of South Africa joined in. Imagine if the whole world joined in.
And who knows, by changing the way we see others, we may change the way they see themselves.
And so change the world for good. It starts with me.
It starts with me.
It starts with me.
It starts with me.
It starts with me. It starts with me.
South Africa, let's see the true worth in others. It's worth it.
I remember Judy Tate. Some of you will know her. She's the director of Ananda Seminary and of Kanyiso. They're doing amazing work in developing educators. But she's on our board, and she was telling the story of, here she was. It was when she was the principal of the school, and there was no coach for the hockey match, and there were girls from visiting schools coming. And so she said the person who worked in the tuck shop was actually able to coach, the referee was able to be the referee. So she said, I'll work in the tuck shop for the morning and you go be the referee. She said the disdain with which she was treated working in the tuck shop and how different it was from the usual when she was standing at the side of the hockey field. And it just challenges all our thinking. So not just race, not just material divide, in any way. How is it that we see each other? And for me, this is so important. How we see people matters more than what we say or do. We jump to the saying or doing, but if we don't get the seeing right, it affects how we say and do. And I'm really challenged by that. So now I'm going to introduce Ernest. Ernest. Ernest is one of our interns, and we met him last year when he joined our RISE Skills Development Program, and he really shone out to us just for his wisdom, his commitment, and just how he approached every situation. So we asked him to join the team, and already we've seen an amazing impact in terms of his impact on the Bombay project. So Ernest, you were forced to be very independent at a young age. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's true. From about the age of 11, I was completely by myself, since my mother had to work in the suburb as a domestic worker. She would only come home to visit only on weekends. And if she was working the weekend, I'd visit her after school Friday. She'd sneak me inside just to make sure that no one saw that I was around.
Sure. And then when you were 13, something happened that, your mom passed away, and that really had a huge impact. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it did a lot. Firstly, the family that my mother was working for, they were very generous when it came to my education. They made sure that my mother never stressed about my education, my school needs. They'd always ask for my year-end school report, my uniform and stationery list, and have it covered. And that was really good, and that was really good what they did, and I really appreciate it. But when we went to inform them about her passing, they were in tears. Their kids wept, talking about how they will miss her, talking about who will help them with their homework, who will play with them. Honestly, for me, hearing that, I was very sad that they knew her way more than I did. And angry as well that they robbed me of my mother's time on earth. I was really sad. And the day I laid my mother to her final resting place, I had everyone in my corner. I had everyone in my corner. I had fathers, I had a mother, I had sisters, brothers. They even exchanged numbers with me to keep contact. The whole village of people, they comforted me, gave me warm hugs, whispering in my ear, "Don't worry, I am here." But after the funeral, everyone went home, and life continued as normal for them. But for me, life continued, life without a mother, without a pillar, without a provider or a friend. I lived completely by myself. No one to dress me up for school, to ask me how my day was. Most of it all, no one to give me a hug and whisper in my ear that everything is going to be okay, my boy. I love you, my boy. Well done, my boy. Everyone just finished.
Sure. And why is working at the Bombay Project so important for you because of that?
Yeah, I believe that God paved this way for me to be part of the Bombay Project. Why I say that, it's because I know how it's like to be without a parent, to be by yourself. And I know what they feel, what they are going through. I don't pity them. I don't see them as less. I don't say awful things to them. I respect them because I know what they are going through. So I love being part of something that young Ernest never had. I love being the part of the Bombay Project because it keeps on giving hope to young Ernest like me. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ernest. Sure. Give him a round of applause. It takes courage to share. And I just want to share with you that Ernest is living that honor. So the other day at Game Changers, one of our high school kids started saying something a bit prejudiced against against foreign nationals. And Ernest, you didn't know I was going to say this, in his just loving, calm way, just made it very clear that we are never prejudiced against anyone. And it just changed the whole situation. So you're living that honor, Ernest, and we just thank you. And, you know, his story just highlights how we see others, whether it's people in our home, whether it's people the world would treat as less than. And honor is also about how we give. And it was in 2004, I put the words together in terms of our vision as Bombay Project, what did it look like? And one of the verses, it's we have a dream. And one of the verses says, it's a dream of honor where no one is seen as less than, where there's no giver and receiver, we all give and receive and are blessed. And that's what we call eye-to-eye giving. It's about seeing everyone on the same level. What does that look like? And it's not about it's about getting away from the way we measure people by money and stuff. And it's about measuring by a different measure. Like, how can you put a measure on the perspective that someone gives you? The gift that seeing their generosity when they're in total lack, and you just see that generosity, it does something to you. When you see perseverance, all those various things, those incredible gifts that are given, which don't necessarily have a material value, but yet are invaluable. Two-way giving is an important part for us of eye-to-eye giving, and we try. It's quite hard sometimes, but for example, those of you who are sponsors know that you get a Christmas gift made by the Special Stars, so both can be saying thank you. It's not just one way. On the top right, that's the Clifton boys, Jürgen's here. They came and they helped, but then the Bombay kids were teaching them dancing. So they looked a bit incompetent as well. So it was good to have this exchange, you know, so if you come along to Bombay, you might just get roped into something, some dancing or something like that. But it's more than that. It's about journeying together. It's about going into each other's homes and sharing the journey, sharing each other's lives. And for us, it's really important. We don't always get it right, but we're trying to grow more and more in that. COVID's in some ways taken a step back in that, and now we're really looking to change that. I want to end the H, the honor, with telling a story of an elder relative of mine. And this was actually just before COVID, and we went to a restaurant, and the waitress served us, and it was at the time where we were doing customer service training in this hall of our kids, and we were getting them into restaurants before COVID hit and messed that up. And I knew what it was like for these kids. I knew many of them had never eaten in a restaurant. I knew the challenge for them getting home at night. So I was seeing from that perspective. And at the end, this individual, when they're paying the bill, turned to the person and said, "Do you think you did a good job tonight?" I'm like thinking, what's coming? You cleared away places before other people had finished. Why did you do that? And my heart just sank, and actually I spoke up after that. But it was just this, the way we've been brought up, our mode of thinking can sometimes get in the way of our compassion, this is the way we do things, and our frame of reference, our lens we see the world. And that might be an extreme example, but it does challenge each one of us in terms of how do we let those things, this is the way it should be done, versus this is a person and this is their heart. And in terms of anyone we encounter, whether it's the beggar, whether it's the car guard, whoever it may be, how do we see them? Do we judge them as less than without even realizing it? So what I want you to do in your groups for a couple of minutes is to chat about, in the H, what's the one thing that's impacted you from what you've heard tonight? Or you might give another story related or share a practical thing that this has challenged you on. So just for a few minutes, share that in your one thing from this that's impacted you.